everyone, my name is Jen Holt. I am here at home to bring you a mindfulness practice. So we're going to talk about mindfulness, how to bring more mindfulness into your body, and we'll also work on some intention setting, and I'll talk a little bit about what that is as well. We are going to practice a little bit of mindful eating today. So if you'd like to have a snack handy for that portion, we won't do that till the end, but if you just want to have something handy, for myself, I just grabbed a banana from the kitchen, and there will be opportunity to go grab something later if you want to participate in that. And we'll talk more about how eating mindfully can help our bodies be able to digest our food a little bit easier and help us to feel a little bit more satisfied as well, so we can make better decisions for ourselves. So we're going to start, with all that said, we're going to start in a comfortable seat, so you can be seated in any way that feels good for you today. You might be seated on the floor or on your yoga mat if you have a yoga mat, or you might be seated in a chair or anywhere else that feels comfortable. That's not so important. What's important is just that you can be in a place so that you can take that awareness inward and be a little bit comfortable, so you can focus on yourself. When we're sitting in a way that feels uncomfortable, then our mind tends to just go to that discomfort. So when we're talking about mindfulness, what is mindfulness? It's being aware, becoming aware of the subtler sensations, becoming aware of what we're doing so that we can make appropriate decisions for ourselves. Mindfulness also helps us to be a little bit less stressed and a little bit more in tune with ourselves. So when we're being mindful, that really means that we're slowing things down a lot. In our day-to-day lives, we tend to be here, there, everything moves very fast, and our minds might be moving very fast, moving from one thought to the next, from this to that. And so when we work through mindfulness practices, we're helping to slow things down and anchor ourselves to the present moment. So we're going to practice that today. You can, again, be in any comfortable seat. Hands could be resting on the knees or the lap, allowing the shoulders to move away from the ears. So just starting our mindful practice by noticing what's happening with the arms and the shoulders, noticing what's happening on the spine, noticing what's happening in our bodies when we sit. So for many of us, when we sit, we may notice that the shoulders are bunching up to the ears, particularly if we're feeling a little bit stressed or overwhelmed. So we're going to look and see if we can soften that down. Noticing what's happening on our back body. So lots of times for many of us, when we're sitting, we tend to kind of relax into this sort of shape so that our backs come into kind of a C shape or rounded shape. So we're going to start by being really mindful about how we're sitting, looking to see if we can sit up a little bit taller, and you can prop up your hips if you're seated on a mat with a little blanket or a pillow. If you're having trouble sitting tall, try propping up your hips and see how that feels. Making sure the shoulders are back down away from the ears. So we'll start just by noticing that. If it feels comfortable, you can allow the eyes to start to close here so that we can really bring our awareness onto our back bodies. Starting to let the outside world fall away. Bring your awareness, bring your mind's eye to your back, and just start to notice how it feels. Start to notice what kind of shape it's in. Is it starting to round, and are you able to lift up out of that? Without judgment or expectation, we're just starting to notice our bodies here. Allow the arms to be heavy, shoulders soft, jaws releasing. Hips are anchored to the mat. Now we're going to bring that awareness, we're going to shift it to the front of the body, to the belly. So now starting to notice if you can feel any movement through the front of the body, the belly, the rib cage, or the chest as you breathe. And starting to notice what parts of the body you feel moving. So practicing a little bit of mindful breathing here. When we're breathing mindfully, there's no judgment or expectation around the breath, and we're very aware of what's happening with the breath. So starting by just noticing the quality of breath. Does it feel good for you? How does it feel? Is it long or is it slow? Is it fast or is it shallow? Starting to create words to form what's happening, helping our minds and bodies understand. So you can create any descriptive words here that work for you. Long, slow, choppy, smooth. Once you find a word or a descriptor, then go deeper and notice what else is there. Feel the sensation. Really take time to feel your breath. Feel how the body expands and accepts in the outside atmosphere on the inhale. And feel that movement as we exhale. We let go of the outside world and we come back inward to ourselves. See if you can become a witness to that pattern, that breath, without judging it, without expecting anything, without resisting or persisting. Just allowing the breath to be as it is, witnessing, observing, connecting with the breath. If you'd like, you could start deepening that breath by practicing bringing in more air on the inhale. And on the exhale, looking to see if you can empty the lungs a little bit more fully. Think about letting all the stale air go. Then as you inhale, observe that deep breath as it comes in. Observe the exhale as it leaves the body. We'll take just a couple of more breaths here, trusting our bodies to take in the right amount of air and just witnessing that process. We're going to start to move into a little bit of an intention setting practice. So just as a reminder, keeping in mind that our intention is not a goal. It's not something that you want to accomplish. An intention is a way that you want to show up for yourself and for the world. It's more about who you are and who you want to be, rather than a task that you want to get done. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask you a few questions to help you arrive at an intention today. So rather than looking for an answer or analyzing, we're just going to see what happens as the question comes and see if there's an answer that bubbles up to the surface for you. So we'll bring awareness back to that breath, witnessing ourselves here on the mat. So developing an image of yourself sitting on your mat, breathing. How might I show up today to have the greatest impact? Without analyzing, just looking to see what happens when you hear the question and seeing if an answer arises for you. How might I show up today to have the greatest impact? What quality of mind do I want to strengthen and develop? What quality of mind do I want to strengthen and develop? What do I need to get better care of me? Ask yourself, what do I need to take better care of me? How might I feel more connected and fulfilled? Asking yourself, how might I feel more connected and fulfilled? Now, as you're here, there may be an intention that comes to the surface. It could be something like, I intend to be more kind. I intend to be more generous with myself and others. Or something else. If an intention has arisen for you, breathe it in. If you're not sure or you're struggling to find your intention today, it's okay, let it go. And you might find it by the end of our practice. As you're ready to continue, we're going to start to open the eyes if they're closed. So you can slowly start to blink the eyes open. Welcome back. We'll start a little bit of mindful movement. So we're going to start with the arms today. On the inhale, you can stretch the arms up overhead, thinking about bringing them up mindfully, noticing what muscles you're using to bring the arms up. Then as we exhale, we'll bring the arms back down, noticing how does that feel? What muscles am I using to bring the arms down? Again, we'll bring the arms up, noticing how does that feel? Looking to see if the shoulders are bunching up as you bring the arms up, and can you soften them down? And then we'll release the arms down, noticing what does that feel like? What muscles am I using? Try to move slow. One more time on the inhale, we're going to raise the arms up, reaching up. Make sure the shoulders don't bunch up, and we're keeping that long, tall spine. Pause at the top, reaching through the fingertips. Shoulders are soft. The spine is really long, and there's a light engagement of the core to hold us here. Feel rooted by the sitting bones, rooted to the ground beneath you, but reaching up energetically. On the next exhale, we're going to turn this into a little bit of a twist. So we're going to bring the left hand, I'll mirror you, to the right knee or thigh. The right hand can go back behind you. If that feels a little too deep, the left hand can come in front of you. If it's available, you can take your gaze behind you over that right shoulder. If that doesn't feel right, then change it. Soften shoulders down away from the ears and notice that you're sitting tall. You're lifting up out of the lower spine. As you exhale, if it's available to you, you could work on deepening your twist, bringing in more movement, more mobility into the spine. On the next exhale, we're going to gently release, coming all the way back to center, and we'll move to the other side. So on the inhale, arms will float up overhead, reach through the fingers, soften through the shoulders. Feel the length of the spine. Feel the strength of your core here to hold you upright. Feel the arms reaching as the shoulders soften, looking for that balance between effort and ease. Then on the next exhale, we're going to take our twist to the other side. So the right hand comes to the left knee or thigh as the left hand slides back behind you, or if you took the other variation, you may have your right hand in front of the body, whatever feels good here today. Notice that you're sitting tall, lifting up out of the lower spine. As you exhale, if it's appropriate, gaze can go over that shoulder behind you, but we're not rounding the spine. The spine is long and strong. Feel the strength of your spine. If it's appropriate and available, you could work on deepening your twist with the next exhale, observing what does that feel like in your body. And then on the next exhale, let's release, unwind. We'll come all the way back to center. If you're seated on the mat, you might like to extend your legs out for a moment. If you've had them crossed, it may feel pretty good to do so. If you're seated in a chair, you could also choose to extend the legs out. And you might point and flex the toes a few times. So this is a movement that we all tend to rush through, but if we're really mindful about how it feels to move the feet, there's actually a lot happening here. Notice how when you flex the toes towards the face, we're building strength along the backs of the legs. We're getting this nice contraction. And then as we point the toes, we get a little stretch on the front of the shins. You may or may not be able to get a sense of that. You may even, if we really point the toes, get a sense of a stretch higher up the leg. Let's point and flex those toes a few more times, being really mindful. See what sensation you can feel. And then after you find that obvious, the bigger sensation, go deeper. What else is there? You may immediately notice the calves, but what else? Maybe you can feel the feet stretching. Nice job. Let's soften out those feet. Relax, let that go. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Shoulders are soft away from the ears. We're going to set up for a little bit of a side bend here, working on moving the spine in all directions. So we'll start by extending the left arm out if you're on your mat. If you're seated in a chair, you could hold on to the side of the chair, or you could also rest the hand on the thigh. The right arm's going to sweep around and up, reaching up towards the ceiling, but making sure the shoulder's not bunching up. On the next inhale, we're going to think about lengthening a little bit more through the spine. So think about creating more space from your seat to the top of the head. Then on the exhale, we're going to move into our side bend. So the right arm comes over the ear. But what I want you to notice is that both sitting bones are really grounded. Nothing here has changed. The only thing that changed was my arm lifted, and by lifting my arm up and over, I'm getting the stretch all the way from the hip to the fingers. See if you can identify that. If you'd like to deepen that stretch, you could go a little deeper by bending the elbow or walking the left hand further away, but being mindful, both hips are staying planted. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths here. Notice how the rib cage on the right side is opening up And on the left side, it feels a little constricted. The breath may feel a little uneven. Nice job. On the next exhale, let's release all the way back to center, and we're going to set up for the other side. So the right hand, fingertips or palm, will find a place holding the side of the chair. It could be on the thigh. It could be on your mat if you're on a mat. We'll flip the left palm and sweep the arm around and up. Pause at the top. Reach through the fingers, but make sure the shoulder isn't bunching up. Looking for a hint of a stretch from the hip to the fingers. Then as it's available, you could start to bring the arm over the ear, deepening the side bend. But remembering, we want both hips to feel rooted and grounded. The only thing that's changed is my arm. Nothing in my lower body has changed. But by reaching the arm over the ear, I get this nice deep stretch through the side body. If it feels appropriate and available, you could deepen your stretch. Noticing, is the shoulder shifting forward, and can you keep it back? On the next exhale, let's release all the way back to center. Now we're going to take a little bit of a back bend here. So let's take the hands back behind us. If you're in a chair, you could be holding the chair. If you're on a mat, fingertips or palm could be on the floor behind you. On the next inhale, we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together to lift the chest. The gaze could stay forward, or it could go up or even back behind you. Make sure you're taking care of your neck. Now take your awareness to the connection of the hands to the mat or floor, whatever is beneath you, the chair. Feel the warmth of the hands, feel the pressure on the hands to lift the chest up just a little bit higher, and feel the shoulder blades squeezing together to open up through the chest. Then on the next exhale, we're going to come all the way back up to our neutral spine. We're going to take a little forward fold from here. So on the inhale, one more time, we're going to float the arms up. On the exhale, we're going to start to fold forward. So you can rest your hands down wherever feels good. So the hands might rest on the legs or the thighs somewhere, or on the mat or floor beside you. Gaze could be down or slightly forward. Taking your awareness all through the back body, from the top of the head, the back of the neck, through the spine, the glutes, the backs of the legs, that means the upper and lower leg, all the way through the feet. So we're stretching the entire back body here. Usually there's one or two areas of the body that you're going to really feel the most, but see if you can feel the stretch through your entire back body. Work on finding those subtler sensations. On the next exhale, let's go ahead and release out of this. So we're just going to make our way back up to a neutral seat, whatever that looks like for you today. We're going to make our way up to standing. So if you'd like, you can come to your tabletop pose briefly with the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. If you're coming to your tabletop, you might like to move through a few cat-cows. To do that, we'll inhale, allowing the belly to drop, head and tailbone lift. Then on the exhale, rounding the back, pushing the floor away to tuck the chin. We'll move through a few more of these if you're with me. Noticing here what the movement feels like through your spine, your shoulders, your chest, your arms, your neck, and then through the lower body, the hips, the glutes, the legs. At the bottom of the next exhale, whenever that happens, we're going to meet in our neutral tabletop position, pressing both hands into the mat. And here we're going to take a moment to be mindful about this position. So starting to notice, is the weight shifting more on one side or the other? Is the weight even between the hands? Can you feel both hands pressing evenly into the mat? We're going to start to make our way up to standing. So you can make your way up to standing however you would like. It may be stepping a foot up, or you could come back to your downward dog and step your way up, whatever feels available to you today. So we're going to start standing nice and tall, looking to find our Tadasana pose, our standing mountain pose. So when we're standing mindfully, we're aware of what's happening in our bodies. So we're going to start bringing a mindfulness to our feet, bringing awareness to our feet. So just noticing how you're standing. What does a normal stance look like for you on your feet? Are your toes and heels aligned? Or are the toes pointed away, or are they pointed inward? Notice that alignment from the toes to the heels. And you might just look and see if you can bring them into alignment a little bit and bring your feet so that they're under the hips. Then we're going to start to notice where the weight is shifting around the body. So really taking awareness to your feet, stand up nice and tall. We'll allow the arms to rest by our sides. And if it feels safe, you can close your eyes. You can always hold onto a wall or a chair or something if you need a little bit of support for balance. But if it's safe, we're going to close our eyes, standing on our 2 feet, and really take awareness to the 2 feet. See if you can notice what parts of both feet are pressing into the mat. You might feel the balls of the feet just under the toes. You might feel the heels along the back of the foot. You may feel the outer edges of the foot. You likely will not feel the arches. If you feel pressure on your arch, see if you can shift a little more weight to the outer foot, the front and back of the feet. The arch should be lifting away from the mat. Press down actively through both feet so you feel a little engagement of the legs, but make sure your knees aren't locked out and the glutes are not clenched. You're not clenching your bottom together. The shoulders are heavy, arms are heavy, shoulders moving away from the ears. Light contraction of the abdomen to help support your spine. That doesn't mean we're pulling the belly in energetically, but there's a light engagement to help support our spine. Think about pressing down through your 2 feet to feel as though that you're growing taller. Feel the length of your spine here. Arms are heavy. Now from this place, with all of the muscles either engaging or relaxing depending on what muscles you're focusing on, take your awareness through the body and just notice how it feels to be standing on your own 2 feet. Feel the strength of your legs. Feel the strength of your spine. If you set an intention at the beginning of practice, you could choose to come back to that. If you haven't set one yet or you're not too sure, you may try asking yourself another question. Who would I like to be today? Let the answer bubble up from within. If your eyes are closed, let's start to blink them open, bringing awareness back to our space. We're going to practice a little bit of mindful walking, and then we're going to practice some mindful eating. So again, for my mindful eating snack, I just grabbed a banana from the kitchen. You might choose to use something else. Because we're going to be eating and we are in the middle of a pandemic, I also want to invite you to wash your hands before you eat your snack, before you do your mindful eating practice. And while you're going to wash your hands, there are some mindfulness techniques that we can use. One is mindful walking, and the other is mindful hand washing. So we'll start with the mindful walking because we can do that together, and then I'll describe the mindful hand washing so you can go excuse yourself and go to a sink to do that. So when we're walking mindfully, we're taking that awareness that we built in our Tadasana practice. So remember, we were focused on the feet, the legs, the whole body, being aware of what's happening in our bodies. So we're going to start to find our Tadasana. If you're practicing on a yoga mat, you could come to the back of the yoga mat. If you're not using a yoga mat, that's okay. We're just going to take about 5 or 6 steps forward and then 5 or 6 steps back. But rather than rushing and walking the way we normally would, we're going to pay attention to what's happening in our bodies when we walk. So allow the arms to be by your sides. Take a moment to find that Tadasana pose. Both feet pressing into the mat, top of the head lifting, arms are soft, shoulders away from the ears, standing nice and tall. Take your awareness to your feet, noticing all the parts of the feet that are touching the mat. Then we're going to shift a little bit more weight to the left leg in order to pick the right foot up and take a step forward. Then as you step forward, notice how you transfer weight onto the right foot. The left foot lifts and it steps forward. Notice that transfer of weight to the left foot in order to take the step to the right. Take another step up with the left. And then we're going to start to walk backwards, shifting weight from one foot to the other. Step the left foot back. Shifting weight from right to left. Step the right foot back. So your steps may be bigger or smaller than mine. That's okay. Let's find ourselves all the way back at the back of the mat, or our starting point. So we're going to do that again. This time I'm going to challenge you to either keep the gaze forward so that you're not looking down at your feet, or if it feels okay, you can close your eyes here. So finding your Tadasana at the back of the mat, shifting a little bit more weight to the right leg, feel the left foot stepping forward. Feel the shifting of weight from right to left in order to take that step forward with the right foot. Feel the weight shifting from right to left to take the step forward with the left foot. Let's do one more step at your own pace. We'll find our 2 feet beneath us in our Tadasana pose. And then we're going to walk backwards, shifting more weight onto the left foot to step the right foot back. Pressing down through the right foot to step the left foot back. Pressing through the left to step the right foot back. And we'll step our feet together to find our Tadasana pose at the back of the mat or wherever we started. Feel both feet pressing into the mat. Now, I'm going to give you a little exercise to do on your own, a little mindfulness practice. So you got a sense of that mindful walking. If we're going to have our mindful snack, we want to wash our hands, right? So I'm going to invite you to mindfully walk to the kitchen or restroom so that you can wash your hands, so we can be clean about this. And as you're washing your hands, you may or may not be able to hear me, but I'm going to keep on talking. As you're washing your hands, I invite you to really be mindful about what that feels like. Feel the temperature of the water on the skin. Feel the texture of the soap in your hands. Feel that layer of soap between the skin when you wash your hands. So if you haven't left yet, again, I invite you to mindfully make your way to the restroom, mindfully wash your hands, and we'll meet back on the mat. I'm going to do that too, so I can be a good example to you all. So I'll see you right back here in about a minute or two. You may not be back yet, but we're just gonna check in and see how we did. How did it go? Were you able to stay mindful the entire time? The walk there, the walk back, as you were turning on and off the faucet, as you were drying your hands? How'd you do? How did it feel? Did it feel different than it normally would to wash your hands? So assuming that we've all finished and washed our hands, we're going to take our snack if you don't have it already, so we can practice a little bit of mindful eating. So you can come to any comfortable seat. I'm sitting with my legs folded because that's very comfortable for me. It may not be for you. You could be sitting in a chair and that's okay. So for my mindful snack, I just grabbed a banana from the kitchen because it was what I happened to have. It doesn't matter what your snack is. It doesn't matter what we're eating. The point is to help develop that slowing down, to develop the mindfulness and awareness piece. So lots of times when we're eating, especially if we're really hungry, if we're very stressed, if sometimes when we're bored, we might eat. And when that happens, then we tend to not be very aware of what we're eating. Or maybe if you find yourself watching a movie or a TV show and you start to open up a bag of something, and then before you know it, the bag is gone and you may not even really think or remember eating it all. Has that ever happened? It has for me. It happens to us all. And it's because we're so focused on filling this, either because we're so hungry or just focused on filling time because we're bored, or we're not even aware of what we're doing because we're so focused on the TV that we're watching. So if we can be mindful about what we're eating, we can nourish ourselves better, and we're actually going to digest our food a little bit better. Our digestion doesn't start when the food hits our stomach. The digestion starts when we see our food. Our digestion starts when we smell our food. We use all of our senses as we eat. So that's what we're going to that's what we're going to practice being very aware of, so we can nourish ourselves better from the inside out. So with all of that said, we're going to take our snack, whatever snack that we have, and we're just going to start by holding it in our hands. You can close the eyes if that feels okay for you, and just feeling the weight of the object in your hands. Feeling the texture. Is it smooth or is it rough? Is there packaging around it? Just noticing any sensation with the food in your hand. So we're starting with physical sensations. The weight, the texture. Is it cold or hot? What does it feel like to hold it in your hand physically? And then we're going to start to notice our mental and emotional bodies. Starting to notice what kinds of thoughts are happening as you hold this item in your hand. And it could be something like, I'd really like to eat this. It could be maybe a judgment around, I should or I shouldn't be eating this. It could be anticipation that I'd really like to get this in my belly. Noticing emotions. We have a lot of emotions with our food. Sometimes there's guilt or shame, or sometimes we feel proud of ourselves for making a better choice, or what we perceive in the moment to be a better choice. Notice that. Notice what's coming up for you as you hold this food in your hand. Reminding yourself that the point of the food is to nourish us. Now, if the food is in a packaging, whether it's a natural package like the banana, or maybe it's in an actual package, a man-made package. We're going to start to open it up. You can keep your eyes closed if your eyes are closed, or if you need to peek your eyes open in order to get your food out of the package, then you could do that. But we're just going to start to open the food up if it's in a package, and then we'll hold it in our hands. So I'm just going to take a piece or a couple of pieces of my banana and hold it in the hand. And notice, is the texture different here? Has there been any shift to your physical, emotional, or mental status? Any thoughts come up? What does it feel like in your hand? And we're going to put it in our mouth, but we're not going to chew it. We're not even going to bite it. We're just going to hold it in our mouth. Actually, I'm going to take mine out so that you can hear me talk. So with a piece of food in your mouth, just feel it. Feel the texture. See if you can get any sense of the smell. I forgot to smell it. We usually do that first. But with it in the mouth, you might get a sense of the smell or the flavor even before you've bit into it. Any thoughts or emotions coming up? Taking time to notice that. Then we're going to take a bite. Not chew it, but just take a bite and notice the texture. What does it feel like to take a bite of your food? Don't chew it. Just take that one bite and hold it in your mouth. Feel it on your tongue. Feel the saliva in your mouth. That's helping us. That's where our digestion starts too. And once our food enters our mouth, we feel the saliva. And the saliva is part of our digestive system, actually. Now with the eyes closed, I invite you to mindfully start to chew your food. And rather than being in a hurry to get it down and swallow it, just starting to notice the texture, noticing how does it feel in your mouth to chew. Notice all of the flavors. Sometimes there's one flavor that hits us first, but there are other subtler flavors that happen. Noticing whatever you can notice. Then when you're ready, you'll swallow. Noticing how that feels to swallow. See if you can even get a sense of the food moving down. And once you've swallowed, take a moment to close your eyes. You can rest your hands back on your knees or your lap. And notice what you feel after eating the food. Are there flavors left over? Maybe you can get a sense of the smell of the food. Noticing any mental or emotional things that have arisen after eating. What does it feel like to eat your snack? Now one more time, if you've got another bite left, I'll invite you to take another bite. So we'll take another bite, put it in our hands, hold it there, and just notice. Notice the physical sensation. Notice any mental or emotional thoughts that are arising. Then we'll put it in our mouths. This time I'm going to do it with you. So before you bite, noticing the texture, then taking a bite, noticing the texture as you bite down, noticing the flavor. Then we'll start to chew mindfully, so being aware of what it feels like to chew. Thinking about slowing down. And then we'll start to swallow. Feeling the food as it makes its way down the esophagus and into the stomach. Accepting the nourishment from the food. Noticing remaining flavors in the mouth. Noticing any thoughts or emotions that have come up as you eat. Let's try one more bite if you're still with me. So we're going to take one more small bite. Hold it in your hand. Notice how that feels. What thoughts or emotions are arising? How does it feel physically? When you're ready to take a bite, you can put it in your mouth without actually taking a bite, just feeling what does it feel like to have it in your mouth. Taking in all of the senses, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight. Taking in all the senses. Beginning to chew as you're ready. Noticing how it feels to chew. Noticing as you chew what flavors are arising. And then as you're ready, swallowing. Seeing if you can watch the food as it moves down. Accepting the nourishment into your body. Using all 5 senses to eat. After you've taken that last bite, let's come back to our comfortable seat, and we'll just start to bring awareness to how we feel after eating. So sometimes there are feelings that can come up after we eat, judgments, expectations, guilt, shame. Reminding yourself that we need food. We need nourishment. Noticing how it feels after you've eaten. What does your belly feel like? And start to close your eyes if you're not already there. We'll come back to that intention if you set one. Reminding yourself of your intention for your practice, your day, your week. If you haven't arrived at one yet, or if you're not too sure about your intention, one more time we'll ask ourselves those questions. How might I show up today to have the greatest impact? What quality of mind do I want to strengthen and develop? What do I need to take better care of me? How might I feel more connected and fulfilled? Who would I like to be today? Notice what arises for yourself here, if anything arises at all. Taking awareness back to that breath, starting to notice the movement of the breath without trying to change it or shape it. Noticing the expansion around the inhale. Notice the contraction of the exhale. You might start to develop a vision in your mind of the breath. Visualize the breath as you inhale. Visualize the breath as you exhale. Watch it as it comes into your body. Feel that cool air on the tip of the nose. And watch it as it moves in through the nose, down the throat, and into the lungs. Watch it as it leaves the lungs, moving up the throat and out the nose, creating warm air on the top of the lip. See if you can become a witness to this practice, this breath. We don't tend to think about it much. But our breath is one of the most important parts, one of the most important functions of our body. Without breath, we can't live. See if you can notice how it feels as you inhale. Feel how we're nourished from within by the oxygen and the nutrients in the air. Feel how we come back to ourselves. We come back inward as we exhale. See if you can become a witness to that process. Without efforting, without judging, without resisting or persisting. Just acknowledging what is. We'll take just a few more breaths here, trusting our bodies to take in the right amount of air that we need. Notice what happens in stillness and in silence. Where does your mind go? As you're ready, we're going to start to blink our eyes open, bringing awareness back to our space. So if the eyes are still closed, in your own time, you might start by opening them up just halfway, inviting a little bit of light into the room, into your space, and then slowly blinking the eyes all the way open. Nice job. I hope you enjoyed our practice today and you can incorporate some more mindful eating into your day. Letting go of judgment, letting go of expectation around food, letting go of some of those negative thoughts that can come up, and just allowing the food to nourish our bodies. Being more mindful about what we're eating tends to help us eat a little bit more balanced, and it tends to help us eat a little bit less. So we're getting rid of some of that mindful just stuffing stuff into my mouth because I'm bored or because I'm watching TV, but being mindful about how we're nourishing our bodies from the inside out. And speaking of mindful eating, making sure that you're getting in as many colors, as many varieties of fruits and vegetables as you can, so that we get all of our micro and macro nutrients, the big protein, carbohydrates, fats, balancing those out, as well as getting in all the vitamins and minerals we need. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to drop it in the comments. If there's anything else you'd like to know, please let me know. With that, we'll go ahead and close our practice. If you choose, you can bring the hands into the heart, being mindful about that connection between the two hands. We'll take a big full breath into the lungs, feeling the breath as it comes in. On the exhale, mindfully being aware of that exhale as the air leaves the body. If you choose, you can close practice with a little bow. Namaste, which means the light in me sees and acknowledges that same light in you. Thank you so much. See you soon.